Okay, so a while back, I asked you guys for some ideas for some future videos. Anything that you guys would like me to talk about. And my buddy Jim suggested that I do a video on my most embarrassing moments. And I said I would, and I haven't. So he reminded me again tonight, and he shared one of his, which I thought was hysterical. I did something similar to that. It had to do with, that self tanning lotion. I don't know. Do people still use that? I think that's still around. But I used way too much of that stuff, and I ended up looking like, well, it's the old stuff was more orangey, and they have new stuff now that actually looks good. It looks like a tan, but the old stuff, it did look like this. And I just thought the more the merrier. I should just slather that stuff on, and you can imagine the results. It just looked ridiculous. But anyway, that's not even my most embarrassing moment. That is just one of many. I didn't even know which one to choose from. I was like, there's so many. I mean, I've done so many silly things in my life that I am embarrassed about, but there's some that just stand out, even now, 50 years later, because the one I'm going to share with you happened when I was like, I think I was 16. I'm 63. So, was that 47 years ago? Is that right? Do the math. 47.
What?
Never mind. So yeah, it was when I was in high school. I started dating this guy, and I really didn't even like him that much, but he was super popular only because he come from a very wealthy family. It wasn't him, it was his family. He wasn't even that great looking, but he had asked me out, and I remember going home and telling my mom, and she was so excited because she knew the family, and she knew how well to do they were, so she made a big deal about it. So I actually only went out with him because I thought it would make her happy. I really did not care for this guy at all. I thought he was kind of a jerk, to be honest with you. But anyway, I ended up going out with him, and he had invited me to his house for dinner. And my mom made sure I had a really nice outfit. We went shopping, and she even bought me heels. And I did not wear heels, even though I'm really short. And, I would wear a little bit, but she got me like these high heels because he was quite a bit taller than me, and she just thought I'd look better. I could barely walk normally without heels. And then you can imagine in those skinny high heels, it was a disaster waiting to happen. So anyway, we get to his house, and it's like nothing I'd ever seen. I'd never been in a house like this before. And we walk in, huge entryway, and then they had like a split level or something, like it was just like three steps down into the living room, a sunken living room. That's what they used to call them. Anyway, so I remember getting ready to walk down the three steps, and his father and his older brother were sitting down there. I don't know what they were doing, but as soon as I went to walk down the stairs, I ended up face planting. I mean, like sprawled out, just like boom, hit the ground, and my legs and arms. I was not graceful at all. It was horrible. It wasn't, there was no catching me. I fell down all three steps. And his family, they're not my family would have laughed, which would have made me laugh. It would have been better, but they act like, oh, they come running over and pick me up, and everybody was kind of quiet about it. Like, I think they were just as embarrassed as I was, if not more so, and so they picked me up, and we just sat down. He introduced me, and we act like that didn't happen. I think if somebody would have made a joke about it, I would have felt better, but, you know, I don't know. It was just incredibly awkward. So anyway, I'm already mortified, right? The night was ruined. After that, I couldn't even think about anything else because I'm just so humiliated. But it was going to get better. We ended up having dinner in this, they had this beautiful formal dining room, and we had a living room, a kitchen, and a dining room. And that's the way our house was. They had like hallways to different rooms, and they had, a big eating kitchen, and then they had this formal dining room with this long table like you see in the movies. And his grandmother was there, his sister, and I don't know, her boyfriend, and then his older brother and his wife and his mom and dad. And I remember a couple kids were there. Anyway, we're all sitting at this long table, and they were Italian, and there were multiple dishes, but they used like different forks and just a lot of silverware. I was used to having a fork and a butter knife. That was it. We didn't even have steak knives because we never ate steak. We didn't need to cut up our meat. We had fried chicken. But anyway, so there's all these different pieces of silverware, and I'm just looking down at them like I didn't know what to use. So I thought I'm just going to wait and see what everybody else does. I'll watch for cues from them. And so I did. I sat there and I waited till everybody else started eating, and then I knew which fork to pick up. And she had all these different, like I said, pasta dishes, Italian dishes, and I ended up having the spaghetti and meatballs because I knew what it was. I thought that would be safe. So they passed around. I put it on my plate, and when I wasn't going to stick a whole meatball in my mouth. I thought I'll just cut it and be real dainty and proper. So when I went to stick my fork in the meatball to cut it, the meatball just flew off my plate and went to the other side of the table to his grandmother. She was like, and by then I was done. I just wanted to die. It was like, this isn't working. Can I just go home now? But again, silence. Nobody's laughing. Nobody's joking about it. They just must have thought I was just absolutely ridiculous. And I was. It was so humiliating. And I just, I was 16. I thought, oh, this is it. I don't ever want to see this guy or his family ever again. And the night was horrible. I couldn't focus on anything. I didn't talk because I was so embarrassed. I just sat there and nibbled at my food and just waited for the night to be over. And he's having a great time because he loves his family and he's comfortable. But I was absolutely mortified. I was miserable. God, it was the worst night. And I ended up dating him for a couple months because I didn't know how to break it off. And I did not like him. He, like I said, he come from a wealthy family, but he was the spoiled, rotten baby of the family. I'd be surprised if he amounted to anything unless his dad bought him a business. But, his brother was on the police force. He ended up moving up and he did well for himself. And his sister was in real estate, but I don't know what he ever ended up doing. Like I said, he was just a spoiled little, and he had the worst breath. I mean, it was so bad. It was like a medical condition. I remember he had to take pills for it. It was that bad. So you can imagine. I didn't even want him to be close to me, let alone kiss me. Oh, it was not a good time. Not a good time. But my mom was so happy. She could brag about it. And, she let everybody know I was dating, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, if you only knew, it was terrible. But yeah, so we went out for a few months. I finally tried to ghost him, just it didn't work. He ended up stalking me and coming to where I work and my house and everything else. And finally, I had to let my mom know that he was horrible, that I just did not like him at all. And she got it. She understood. And it was her and my dad that finally had to tell him that he had to back off, that they were going to call the cops if he didn't leave me alone because he was stalking me. He was coming to my work and yeah, waiting in the parking lot. He was just awful. So thanks for reminding me, Jim. One of the worst memories ever. But yeah, just I've got more. I'll save them for a later date. But just, one of the many wonderful stories from my past that I'm trying to forget. Moments. If you have an embarrassing moment you'd love to share, feel free to leave it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Also, like I said, I've been getting a lot of new subscribers, so I want to do a question and answer video, and I'd like to read, who it's from. So if you have a question, I'd really appreciate it if you would leave me a comment and the question, And then in the next video or the video after that, one or the other, I will read your question, and who it's from, and then I will answer it because I could really use some ideas. I want to come up with some better content to share with you guys. So yeah, I'm going to post this on my page too. I'll let you guys know if you want to leave it over there, or you can leave it in a comment here. But anyway, I really would appreciate it if you would ask me a question that I could answer online. So I'm going to let you guys go, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, guys. Would you look at that? I literally could not see out this window because of the hard water deposits. This is amazing to me. And you guys know I tried that magic eraser, I tried vinegar, I tried Dawn dish soap, just a bunch of different things. I still have to go over it one more time, but my gosh, what a difference. This stuff is amazing. I'm going to put the link in the description of this video in case any of you need to use something like this, but it actually works. A product that actually does what it says it's going to do. Amazing.